be back.
Yes.
We are doing so awesome. This is so fun. We're learning so much. So I appreciate everybody's patience and understanding as we figure out technology and lighting and camera angle. I mean, it's just a cell phone. It's just a phone. Um, but hopefully the content is helpful. But it would really be awesome if we could start off with a question. I guess if we don't have any, I guess I'll start at a couple of things. Um, this arrived today, so it's brand new, and I'm going to write something on it. And a lot of you that have seen me and had me come out and coach, I've begun talking about basically 4 levels of performance. And I'm going to write them down for you. And I'll apologize now if it's backwards. But here is the first level of performance. Do. First you do this, then you do that, then you lift the end of a phrase, and then you play this chord, and then we're all going to turn to the right on measure 16 and look up 45 degrees at the moon or whatever it is that we have going on. But it seems very checklist oriented. And it is amazing the amount of things that you can learn in do, in the land of do. And you can talk about proper vowels and forward momentum and all of these wonderful things. And you could spend a lifetime of lifetimes learning about all the things that come in do land. And here's the interesting thing is that 80, in my humble opinion, this is not based on anything other than my experience, is that 85% of directors, of coaches, and performers live in do land. And the next level above that is we simplify and we take a lot of these do things and we say, you know, let me think about it this way. And that is the next level. Think. I'm going to say about 10% of performers, directors, coaches live mostly in think. Now that's a significant improvement because we're going from 85 at the highest levels of do, you're at the 85 percentile. And when you get into think, you're at the 85th to 95th percentile. So very, very high level, heady stuff. Now this is where things like subtext comes in. And it's like Rodney Dangerfield saying the line in the movie is he goes up to a lady and says, it says nice hat. But what does he say? He says, oh, nice hat. Now, what's the subtext there? Is it really a nice hat? No. He's saying, oh no, but it looks good on you, right? The subtext there is, okay, not a nice hat, and I'm going to try to somewhat gracefully get get out of this uncomfortable situation. Hey, it looks good on you. But think also with performance, it's almost like we're trying to get proper vocal placement, and we can think about all those to-do list items, and what we can quickly come up with is something that, let me just think about it this way, and then the vowel comes more naturally. We have, let's take posture, right? Feet shoulder width apart, knees slightly flexed, loosen the midsection, chest high, shoulders back, chin not up, not down, not forward, not back. Or we can think about, in a general sense, being very regal, not with something to prove, just very regal, right? That's a think level item that allows the to-dos, the do list, the checklist items to happen naturally. So now, above that, we're going to have, what does this feel like? Yeah, what does this feel like? So we could have the song that we talked about earlier um, with Barbara Streisand. And she's talking about, you don't bring me flowers anymore. It used to be the small things in life. And now I'm not even worth the small things. And that hurts. What can I do to capture your attention once again? And that's a very stirring um, story. That's something that's, yeah, that can be tough to handle, especially if you're experiencing that too. And that's what the song feels like. And she sings it like that. And she sings it with vocal texturing and momentum that ebbs and flows depending on what the lyric feels like. And then the highest level is in that example of Barbara Streisand, I think she's here, is that, yeah, yeah. 1% of people, performers, directors, coaches, exist in B. That's be that person. That's who I am, Beaver, right? And it's a whole different thing when someone shares who they are, another Beaver, right? And we think about who's the gentleman that's saying, "You are so beautiful." Joe Cocker. Yeah, Joe Cocker. And he wasn't known because of his pristine singing voice. He was known because he was telling his story, right? And it was very endearing. They could have fixed the end of the song, to me, right? And it kind of wavers on the note, but it was him. It was him. It wasn't about perfection. It was about him talking about um, that I don't care what the rest of the world thinks. You are beautiful to me. And I'm going to share that with the world, right? That's a different level of performance. You can sing it in tune, you can sing it in time, you can sing it with the proper vowels, vocal placement, and it won't get here because that's not who he was, right? I'm not saying that we all sing out of without good vocal technique, but I am saying sing within who you are. Yeah. So any questions, Jackson, do we have?
Not yet.
Excellent. Well, how are we doing on time?
It is currently 8:17.
Great. So um, one of the things I'll share while we're waiting for questions, it would be awesome if people have experienced this. I'm going to share a little bit more about the connectivity between these levels. And if any of you have experienced me coaching in this and found yourselves moving up the levels, I would love to hear about that as well. But here's the thing, it's really important, is that if you find yourself in do, you cannot coach in B or just decide you're going to move there because it just won't work because there's experiences, life experiences in many cases, musical experiences that help you move to these different levels. I mean, I use these in life. I use these levels in life and I live most of my life here. What does it feel like? And it's it feels like the right thing to do is this. Ah, and here's an example, a life example. If you're thinking that, how do we use this? Um, that you want to help people. At the do level, this is an example that I use, and it was a real one for me, is that if you want to help people, what do you initially at the do level, what do you do? I mean, you donate your time. Maybe you work at a soup kitchen. Maybe you help at your church. Maybe you donate money. Maybe you donate your skill sets. Maybe you help build a house, etc. Right? And there's wonderful things that come of all of those and many more examples. But now, let's say that we move to think. Let's think about helping people. And then, all of a sudden, you start finding ways to help others that you didn't expect. You might just open the door for someone walking into Speedway and you see that they're heading there, and I'll open the door for them. Or you might notice that there are a couple of widows, let's say, that live in your neighborhood and they can't snow blow or snow throw or shovel their driveways. Hey, that's what happens in Michigan. Those in Florida, John, I mean, I know you're, or Joe, I know you're out there. Probably don't have this very often, but the example still exists where we are thinking about helping people, and then examples come to us more organically. And then we get to this level. This is a huge, this is a big jump right here. And we say, what does it feel like to help others? What does it feel like to help others? And if you think about it, it is the perpetual motion machine. It's, give me just 1 second, Parker. The perpetual motion machine, because if we give, what does it feel like? It feels like we get more in return. And that's when really good performances occur as well, is that we're giving to the audience and then the audience gives back to the performer. And it's the perpetual motion. And it's hard sometimes to capture that when you are recording. Let's say a CD. It can seem very pristine, but lacking that interpersonal connection. And so think about that. Maybe have people in the room when you're recording. And then the last level, back to our example of helping others, is I help people. That's who I am, right? And so we can move through these levels, and you go through each of them as you. It's kind of like love. At what pace do you do them? Hey, you know when you know. And this is really helpful in music, because if you know you're here, don't try to go here. Try to go here. Let's think about this phrase. What's the subtext here? What does this mean to us? Okay, let's talk about that. And if you're here, hey, let's talk about what it feels like. So this is, the next thing is that if you know you're here and you get a coach that's up in field, there's going to be a disconnect. It's probably not going to work as well. It's when you find common ground, when you're using vernacular that's in the think level, because even though you might be predominantly in do, you're still going to have think examples. And you might even have a couple of feels, but those will probably not make their way into the performance right away. And then we have a coach that's working in feel. They'll probably use some think things, and those will really connect. And so this very simple example.
Question.
Yeah.
Kathy Mitchell asks, how about take us through the process with a short song we might all know? So the do, think, feel, be, I think is what she's
Okay. So let's take a song. Kathy, excellent question. Let's take a song that we all know. How about, I use this very often. How about Itsy Bitsy Spider? So so if we're going to work at do level, it would be hey, let's make sure that we get all the right vowels at all the right times and keep it in rhythm, etc. Here we go. Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. There we go. So I would say that's very do level. Maybe I was out of pitch and maybe the timing wasn't perfect and maybe I should have taken a better breath at the end. But it's a very do level performance, right? So now let's say, think about this as though I remember when Parker was 5. It's good that he's not in the room right now so I can tell you this. But I remember when he was 5 and he's still like this today. That boy is always happy. And let's pretend that let's think about it this way. Let's think about it that we're at Parker's 5th birthday party. He wouldn't care if you sang out of tune. He would just be thrilled that people were singing to and for him. And that might sound like this. Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and, right? Can you see that it's more of an interactive? And I'm trying to think about what is the message of each one of those things. Now I'm going to work at feel level. And really to work at feel level, we need to know the message of this song. And what is the message? I don't think I've ever thought about that until this very moment. I think the message is, don't be deterred. If you want to get somewhere, work at it. Difficulty will come. And it may seem insurmountable. I mean, you're only a tiny little spider. And here's all this water gushing. But you know that you want to make it from here to there. At a higher level in life. And what would that sound like? Itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. Right? That feels different to me. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. It was just something off the cuff. But it feels different to me. And that's the message I was trying to get across is don't let it deter you. I call this thing the name of a mountain. We can talk about that another time. Now, it would be very difficult to give an example at B because I'm actually not a spider. I mean, that maybe I'm being literal. Maybe I could just use the example of someone that has been through difficulties and isn't deterred. Wow. I would actually love to see that performance. I would love to see that performance. So if any of you wanted to do something with Itsy Bitsy Spider and could do it at the B level, I would absolutely love that. A friend of mine actually just did an arrangement, 2 different versions, a very easy version and a fancier version. And I can make those available as well. Her name is Joelle Laginus. You may know her. So Jackson, any other questions?
Not yet.
So we have a great example, Allison. That's why it's a good idea to work out the song story ahead of time for the chorus.
So like,
Yes. Yeah, that's a great idea. How are we doing on time, Jackson? I want to be respectful of people's time.
we are at 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
What time is it?
It is 8:29.
Great. Well, if you enjoyed anything about this evening, make sure to comment. Let me know of other topics you'd like to cover. If you'd like to allow more people to enjoy singing and to come together and enjoy singing, we can talk about that. We can talk about forward momentum. We can talk about musicality. We can talk about any number of things. And my plan is to call upon some very talented coaches, voice coaches, musicians, arrangers, directors, etc., and have them be online with us at the same time. So would love to hear your experience. Thank you again so much for your patience as we work things out. Thank to each and every one of you for being a part of this evening. And thank you especially to Jackson and Parker, who are here helping out and giving me directions. And hey, blessings to you all. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful evening and enjoy music. Thank you.